Americans are a pet-loving nation.
They enhance my life tremendously. I have a dog and a cat, and without them, being single and living in the city, it can get lonely, just being busy and going home and having them happy to see you. It's just a wonderful thing. You can't explain it. I suppose it's the same as having children.
Oh, he's like a fourth child. He's a family member. We take him on every vacation. He's a great addition to the complement. He's kind of a K. He's one of us.
Well, my cat runs my life, I think, sometimes. He has certain things I have to do, and he gives me jobs to do. Get certain food, get certain sand, make sure his life is comfortable.
An estimated 69 million households spend about $9.4 billion a year for the health and care of their animals. And a growing market of products and services have pet owners questioning long-held beliefs about what care is best. Is traditional veterinary care the best way to optimize your pet's health? And if not, what's the alternative? Our pets are regarded as members of the family. And like their human caretakers, they can also suffer from chronic health problems that are heartbreaking to endure and costly to treat. Our first guest, Jackie Frink, began to see problems develop when her English bulldog Cyrus was just a puppy. Thanks for being here, Jackie.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for bringing Cyrus. He is adorable.
Yes, we love him.
Yeah, you got him when he was just a puppy. You are a big, big dog lover, you and your son. You have 2 other dogs, and you wanted to do the best possible thing by him. So you took him to your vet, and?
We took him to our vet, and we asked our vet what would be the best way to treat our dog. She suggested a very well-known dry dog food that we thought would, be very good because it was quite expensive.
You couldn't buy it in a conventional supermarket?
No, you could not. You could either get it from your vet or you could go to a specialty dog supply place. And so we began feeding him this dog food with the knowledge that, it would be the best for him.
Yeah, and so he was fine for a while, and then when he was about a year old, problems started to develop.
Yes. He started to lose his fur. His temperament was very low. And he had some real chronic ear problems.
What was happening in the ear? It was pretty bad.
It was really bad. His ear would really get infected. It would be swollen. He wouldn't be able to hear well, and he'd be scratching and crying, and it was giving him a lot of discomfort, a lot of pain.
And sometimes it would even bleed.
It would bleed too, yes.
So you took him back to the vet, and what did she recommend? She
recommended to give him, beginning with antibiotics to treat it, and a topical cream. And that would go on for a while, and it would subside. It would get better, and then of course it would reoccur because we were still feeding him the food. And at that time, they would also prescribe prednisone, and of course we would.
Which is a steroid.
It's a steroid. We would give him the prednisone, and everything again would subside. He'd be fine for maybe a week, 2 weeks, and as soon as we would wean him off that, reintroduce the food, it would begin again.
So did you think at that point it was food?
We didn't. We just thought it was something to do with the breed. We thought maybe he just was susceptible to ear problems.
What was the vet telling you?
That was very common in all dogs, a lot of dogs that they saw, especially like some of the certain breeds like Cocker Spaniels, Bulldogs. It wasn't unusual.
And so how long did this go on where you're going back and forth to the vet?
This went on for about 1.5 years, 2 years, back and forth, just trying to address it.
So that's a lot of energy and that's a lot of money.
Yes.
Did you ever think about, as darling as he is, did you ever think about getting rid of him?
Oh, no, we never would get rid of Cyrus.
Okay, so you wanted to find a way to help him, and the vet finally had another recommendation for you at the very end, sort of a last resort.
Yes, the last thing that she came to us with, because, as we exhausted all these other ways, she suggested having his ear canal removed. And that was very, undesirable to us because we didn't want to put the dog through that. And it was a very, very expensive operation as well, at least $3,000.
Oh, my gosh.
And then the dog could be listing, his equilibrium could be off.
Because they would remove the inside of the ear.
Inside of his ear. And
Is that a common surgery?
I guess, according to them, it's something that they will use as a last resort, and they're not hesitant to use it.
So when she told you that this was your option and it was going to be costly and that there were these side effects, you felt like?
Well, we just didn't want to put the dog through that. We were hoping that we would, they could come up with something else that we could do to help this dog without having to resort to removing,
Right.
his ear canal.
Right. So you got curious.
So we did get curious.
Yes. Yes. And when we come back, we're going to find out why Cyrus is no longer sick as a dog. Welcome back. We've been talking to Jackie Frink, whose dog Cyrus was suffering from chronic ear infections. So, Jackie, you didn't want to go with the suggestion of your conventional vet, so you started looking for alternatives.
We did, and we happened to read an article in the newspaper, our local newspaper, about a holistic vet in our area. And I called her and asked her if she would see Cyrus, and she said she would, and we brought him over to her.
And what did she say?
She said that she could help him within 3 to 6 months. She felt very confident. She wanted to address his nutrition, was her main focus.
Okay. And we have your vet right here. We have Dr. Sharon Doolittle. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to get the word out about this kind of alternative medicine for animals.
And I just have to say that your name is Dr. Doolittle. Is that your real name?
That is my real name. I was born Doolittle, and so the career choice was already made for me.
That's your destiny.
It is. It's my destiny. Go to vet school and become Dr. Doolittle.
So when you first saw Cyrus, what was his problem in your mind?
In my mind, he had the obvious external symptoms of the severe ear. But looking at his nutrition that they had him on, to my mind, a large part of his problem was the grain-based dry dog food.
That Jackie had thought was so great.
Exactly. And additionally, I also did my exam through nutrition response testing, which is a non-invasive way. It helps me to diagnose what's going on with his internal organs and other stressors on the body. And then I was able to also put together a herbal and nutritional supplement program to address the things that I found through the nutrition response testing.
So you suggested herbal supplements, and you suggested that he get off this grain-based diet and
Correct.
introduce more of what?
Meats, fruits, and vegetables.
Fruits and vegetables.
Real food.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and we're going to be talking about that more later in the program. But first, let me just ask you, when he went on that diet, what happened? How soon did you notice changes?
Almost immediately.
Amazing.
He became more active, happier, just contented, a lot of energy.
In about 5 months, he was kind of back to his normal
Almost
self.
perfectly to the day. On 5 months, he was better than, he was new and improved.
And he's snoring right now. So how large a role does diet play in a lot of the chronic diseases that cats and dogs are being plagued with today?
Huge. I think it's, personally, and this is my opinion, I think it is the majority percentage of what's wrong with the health of the animals today in our country. More so, much more so than the average animal owner realizes, and more so than even my conventional colleagues realize, because we're just not taught that way.
Yeah, and you were a conventionally trained vet yourself.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I practiced conventionally for about the first 17 of my 24 years of practice life.
Right. And then you got into, obviously, this type of medicine, holistic veterinary care.
Correct.
So if someone's a holistic vet, what kind of services does one, as a holistic vet, provide?
Typical services could include acupuncture, chiropractic, homeopathy, certainly herbal and nutritional supplements rather than pharmaceutical drugs. And some holistic veterinarians even do things like energy work, applied kinesiology, nutrition response testing, which is what I do, and that kind of a list of things.
And talking about acupuncture, dogs and cats get acupuncture for the same reasons that people do?
Yes, the exact same reasons. Pain management, arthritis and musculoskeletal problems, and then going kind of towards traditional Chinese medicine, the body, they're always talking about balancing the body, and that's done through the acupuncture meridians and points.
So how do you respond to people who say, isn't this a little bit of overkill? Taking your dog and your cat for acupuncture treatments or feeding them the same food that you're feeding your kids? Like what are you going to do next? Like send the dog to a spa for stress relief?
Right, and to those people, those are the people that ask those kinds of questions are the same people that really aren't as involved with their animals. They don't see them maybe as a family member. And those would be the people that kind of have the dog chained out in the backyard and feed it, you know, the cheapest possible dry food out of a bag and don't really pay that much attention. Most animal owners, however, are very committed to their animals and want the very best for them and truly regard them as a family member. And many tell them they like them better than many of their family members. And
I believe that.
So, yeah, that's true. And so they want the very best care and health and well-being for them. So I think it's actually wonderful that these services are now available for animals in the past 10 to 20 years, where they were never available before.
And as a holistic vet, do you vaccinate animals or not? That's sort of a controversial topic in your field at the moment, is it not?
Yes, there's getting to be quite the hot topic on vaccines these days. A true holistic veterinarian probably does not actively administer vaccines and probably counsels that once an animal has reached adulthood, probably the only vaccine really necessary would be rabies by law, again, depending on what the animal's situation was. Conventional veterinarians are still, a lot of them, unfortunately, very tied into the annual vaccine mindset, which that has kind of gone out with, you know, as I like to say, the wringer washing machine. But some conventional veterinarians just haven't gotten away from that yet.
And you continue now to take Cyrus to Dr. Doolittle, but he doesn't need to go as often.
Correct.
Yeah.
He's doing so well that he's on the mend and just getting better and better every day.
Yeah, he looks like he's doing pretty well. So when we come back, Dr. Doolittle is going to show us what foods will keep your dogs frisky and your cats purring. Welcome back. I'm here with Dr. Sharon Doolittle, and we're talking about the best kind of diet. What do you really need to feed your dogs and cats? And we're going to start, Dr. Doolittle, with what you think people should not be feeding their dogs and cats. A grain-based diet.
That's correct.
Right? This is a cat food, and this is a conventional grain-based dog food. Why are they so bad?
Well, unfortunately, this is what most animals in America are getting right now. And why are they so bad is two main reasons. First of all, the grain-based. And dogs and cats were not designed to handle these evolutionarily. So dogs don't even have the enzyme to break down the carbohydrates of the grains. And cats are obligate carnivores.
So it's even worse for them.
It is even worse for cats because they're obligate carnivores. Obligate meaning you have to, and carnivore meaning meat.
Eat meat.
So meaning you have to eat meat and meat only. So it's even worse for cats, but don't forget, dogs don't even have the enzymes to break these grains down either in their saliva.
The health effects could be?
Long term, that means that the body gets something in that's almost foreign to it. And it goes, grain, what's that? What am I supposed to do with that? It's meat. The other number two reason that these are so bad is besides the body going, grains, meat. The other worst thing about it is that they are overly processed.
Yeah, okay.
High heat, high pressure, to create these little, what I like to call lava rocks. And so it no longer has the nutritional value that it started out with the real food that they put into that high heat and pressure. So basically you've got the nutritional equivalent of cardboard right now.
Yeah, you said it's like eating cereal 3 times a day with no milk.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was really interesting when you told me that. Now over here we've got some conventional canned foods. This is a cat food and this is a dog food. The minute we took them out of the cans, they stink, I will say that. Why are you not a fan of these? Because so many people are feeding their dogs and cats these products.
Correct. These do have less grains than the kibbles. However, they are made from typically what's called 4D meat, dead, diseased, down, and dying. These are meats that have been labeled unfit for human consumption.
Right, we would never eat this.
Exactly. So why do we feed it to the animals?
So why are conventional vets not telling their clients not to feed their dogs and cats these foods?
The sad fact is, Portland, that we were not taught very much nutrition in veterinary school. And so, I mean, the average
So you're just saying that people they just don't know.
Exactly. The average guess is that we get about 4 hours of nutrition in vet school, compared to hundreds of hours of everything else. So really we come out not knowing any better as a veterinarian.
So I want to move on actually over here to something that's very controversial right now. It's raw food. And we've got 3 different types. It comes in a bucket, it can come in a cube form, it can come in this kind of a roll. And you know, Sharon, that your critics are saying that if you feed your dogs and cats this kind of food, raw food, that you're exposing them to salmonella poisoning, you're exposing them to E. coli. And your response to that is?
My response to that is that, first of all, how many times have all of us seen dogs, particularly going and eating out of garbage pails?
Yeah.
Having much more high bacterial content. So, okay, why can they do that? They have a much faster transit time in their GI tract than we do. So
they have smaller intestines.
Smaller, maybe not.
Through
it
more
moves
quickly.
through more quickly is a
Okay.
better way to put it, and they have a much higher acid content. So the acidity and the fast transit times allows them to not only eat raw food, but unfortunately go in the garbage and survive it most of the time.
Can you feed it to them frozen? This is frozen. Do you feed it to them frozen like this?
Generally speaking, you would thaw these things out. So you would thaw this out and cut this into patty-type slices. This is already thawed, so you would just scoop it out in a cup. And generally speaking, you would feed this. I have personally fed the cubes frozen to my own dogs, but generally speaking, these are thawed out.
Oh.
You know, the other thing, too, talking about raw feeding and all this horrible exposure to E. coli and salmonella, I should, as I like to joke, have a practice full of dead dogs if that was the case. If it was truly killing off that many dogs and cats, I should have a practice full of dead dogs.
But you probably want to go to a vet who's knowledgeable about this before you just start feeding your...
There are definite caveats on raw feeding, so do not attempt this without supervision of a holistic veterinarian.
And we want to move over here to something that's sort of midway. Now, this is a real food, dog food or cat food, right?
That's correct. This is a commercially available.
I could actually eat this.
That's
Not
right.
that I want to, but
that's
I could.
right. But we could, because this is a commercially available food that starts out with human quality ingredients, not the stuff that's unfit for human consumption. And so they take the meats, fruits, and vegetables, and as you can see, chunk it up, make it like a stew, and balance it for canine nutritional needs. They also have this for cats as well.
Right, and we're going to move over here. We've got, now this is so surprising to me that you can feed your dogs green beans and kale and broccoli? I mean, when I was a kid, I remember my mother saying, dogs eat dog food, they do not eat people food. Cats eat cat food, they do not eat people food.
Yep.
She was wrong.
One of the great myths that, you know, we were passed on through the years. And
so
it truly
you
is
actually
a myth.
mix this in?
Yep, you can actually mix that in right with either the stew, or if you're doing raw feeding, you can add additional meats, fruits, and veggies to
this
that.
as well.
Absolutely.
And you can add, here we've got actually cooked chicken.
Correct.
You can put cooked chicken in.
Yep, we've got the green beans here. We've got broccoli and kale. I love the greens for animals, but you can also do things like pumpkin and butternut squash and zucchini and summer squash.
And you feed this to you have a dog, I assume?
Yep, 2.
And you have 2, and you feed this to them?
Yep, I do raw feeding, and I give them additional fruits and veggies and meats. That's correct.
And we have over here some, I think this is some kind of oil. I think you say olive oil and fish oil are really good.
Fish oil and olive oils. And in here we have a salmon oil. And after mixing some of these things, whether you're doing the cooked or the raw,
pour it in?
You can do a drizzle.
You do a drizzle, and I guess what, high in omega-3s?
High in
omega-3s, just the way it's good for us.
Absolutely. And they do better with the fish oils than they do with the flax oils. Again, they don't have the enzyme to convert flax into the usable omegas.
Okay.
Fish oil already comes in the usable omegas for animals, so I do prefer fish oils for them.
And then for treats, or you could even mix this into the food.
You can mix fruit in, but you could also do fruit as a treat.
You can do blueberries to your dog and your cat?
High in antioxidants, fantastic for them.
And these are some kind of
treat
a lot of people not
don't,
grain-based?
That's correct. A lot of people don't like to do food, you know, out of the fridge for treats. We are mentally kind of tied into like, oh, give him a treat that was made for him. So there are grain-free treats available for animals. Something like this is freeze-dried meat. This is freeze-dried fish. And this is freeze-dried organ meat. So a lot of the grain-free things are the actual meat or organs just freeze-dried.
And where would you get something like that?
These types of things, all of these types of things are available either at some holistic veterinarians, like myself.
Right.
I do that as a service for my clients, and also small, locally, privately owned groomers or pet stores, not the large chain stores that we typically think of.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to plate up this food in just a minute, and when we come back, we're going to tell you what to look for when you're choosing a holistic vet. Welcome back. I'm here with Dr. Doolittle and with Jackie, and we've actually got a typical dish here that Cyrus would eat.
Yes, he would.
Yeah, it looks pretty good, actually. Dr. Doolittle, to find a good holistic vet in your area, where do you look?
Go on to ahvma.org.
Which stands for what?
American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association.
Okay, great. I want to thank you so much for being
Thank
here
you.
today. And thank you, too, so much, Jackie.
Thank you.
If you'd like more information, you can visit our website. Come here, Sandy. So Cyrus and Sandy are going to enjoy their meal. And I want to thank you so much for joining us on What's the Alternative. I hope you learned something new.